All right, y'all. I'm going to read y'all all a story, and it's a quick story out of blacknews.com. I left the link in the bottom. I'm not seeing a lot of people cover this, but we need to cover it. And I've told you again, I'm going to start putting more things that I can in 2026 back into its historical context. So here's the thing, before I move into this story, I'm not going to use any actual footage of the victim or the person who unalived this victim. I'm using Vecteezy images, and then I'm going to go back in the day and use old images from Mississippi. And that is out of respect of the family of the deceased. I'm going to show you an image on the screen, and that's the name. If you are familiar with history, this man was by far one of the most evil people who ever lived in the South. We're going to touch on this person later on in the video because this person's legacy plays a huge role in why this stuff still happens where it happens. So without further ado, let's go to the place where his evil plays out. Let's go to the state of Mississippi, where I'm gonna read y'all this story, and it's a short story, but I sincerely hope you start to get the themes and understand why some things are the same but some never change. My bad. Again, I have a habit of starting my dishwasher at the same time that I'm recording these videos. Nonetheless, I had a lot of dishes, so I needed to get them done. So I hope y'all bear with me and understand. Okay, without further ado, here's the story. Cody Rawlinson, a white man from Mississippi charged in the hit-and-run death of 10-year-old Jordan Hill, walked free after a jury found him not guilty. Just moments before the verdict, he spat towards the boy's family outside the courthouse. Supporters of Hill gathered outside of Amity County Courthouse as the jury reached its decision. Emotions were already high when Rawlinson was escorted through the parking lot by authorities. In a video that later spread online, a woman asked if he had anything to say to the family. His response was to spit. "Justice for Jordan," the woman shouted after the incident. "He spat on the family. There's no remorse." Jordan Hill, an African-American boy, died on April 6, 2025, after Rawlinson ran him over with a pickup truck and drove away. At the time of the crash, Jordan was riding an ATV in a grassy area along the side of the road away from traffic, according to family spokesperson Marquel Bridges, as reported by the Atlanta Black Star. Prosecutors charged Rawlinson with aggravated DUI and felony fleeing without rendering aid. He posted a $41,000 bond and later told authorities he left the scene just because he had no cell service to call 911. After deliberating for about an hour, the jury cleared him of both charges. Jordan's mother, Wanda Brown, said the verdict left her crushed. She added, "Shocked. I was shocked because you have all this evidence, facts, and it still was found not guilty." The family continues to question how the case was handled. A Change.org petition shared by a family friend claims there were no skid marks at the scene to show Rawlinson tried to slow down. Bridges said the family believes Jordan's death was a hate crime and not an accident. After the verdict, relatives also raised concerns about the jury, saying some jurors had prior knowledge of the case and should not have served. Jordan's sister, Mariah Woodward, said that the family's not giving up. "I still definitely want to get justice," she said, adding they will keep sharing Jordan's story so it does not fade away. For Brown, the loss still defines daily life. It's been hard, she said. We have a home, but it's empty. It's quiet. Let's get back to the evil face I showed you. When I was a teenager, my mom allowed me to watch the film because she tried to keep me from race films for a long time. And I remember she wouldn't let me watch Roots because her reason was, I don't want you to hate white people. And I know that's going to cause some controversy when people listen to this video. But as I had gotten older, there were some things that she gave concessions for. And one of those things was a film called Ghost of Mississippi. The film starred Whoopi Goldberg as Merle Evers, the widow of Medgar Evers, who was shot by the guy on the screen, Byron De La Beckwith, in his yard. An all-white jury immediately found him not guilty. He celebrated and for decades got by with what he had done to Medgar Evers. I love the ending of the film because in real life, the last few years of his life, Byron De La Beckwith died in a prison in Mississippi. But even me growing up in the state next door, Alabama, I harbored no illusions that Mississippi is still a very, very scary place for black people or any person that didn't fit any genuine societal ideal that they have for that state. Picture this, somewhere in Mississippi, and I can't find the story right now. Black young man holding a cell phone was just released from a jail there. This is a true story. As he's walking away from the police station, some white kids in a pickup truck started honking at him, following him, and calling him the N-word. I would say in less than 72 hours, that young black man was found unalived. I can remember they said he was on the cell phone with his mama. This is 21st century. Saying he thought his life was in danger. But you would say, what did this 10-year-old little boy being unalived in April 2025 have to do with Medgar Evers and Byron De La Beckwith? It's when one of the relatives in the article said, we're going to continue to seek justice. See, here's the thing. Byron went to prison, and he was one of the biggest and well-known evil people in Mississippi to get by with that. Because Medgar Evers was hardly his only target. There was another target, well-known target in that state, that was a Jewish man after Medgar Evers was unalived. Byron De La Beckwith lived most of his life with children, grandchildren, the like, lived to old age, could sit on his porch, sip sweet tea, with the knowledge that he thought he was going to get by with it. He only spent the last couple of years in prison, but he still got to live the life that Medgar did. Medgar didn't see his children grow up. His wife remarried. Those kids went on, had a life, and gave him a legacy that he didn't get to live to see. I get it. People, well, life is unfair. I don't want to hear that. This is giving Byron De La Beckwith vibes, particularly in the environment we're in right now. The way in which that child was unalived by somebody who hit them run and they know he did it. How did it take the jury an hour to say, yeah, but we don't think he did it? It makes no sense. That verdict came back too fast. The same with Medgar Evers. And it was rumored that Byron De La Beckwith bragged that he did it. And still an all-white jury found him not guilty. See, what I'm curious of, they say a jury, but they won't say race these days. Oh, we don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. No, who was on the jury that decided that this 10-year-old boy didn't deserve justice? I'm gonna make a confession, and I know some of my listeners are from Mississippi. I'm just gonna be real with you. Mississippi scares me. Because even watching Ghost of Mississippi, it felt good that Byron had to go to prison after all those years. But I always innately knew that the deep-seated racism in that state had never truly died down and was just waiting, those ghosts. Perfect name for that film was Waiting to Resurface. Some things remain the same and some never change. I think Mississippi is an example of that. You are a parent of young black boys in this state or any states like that, even my birth state of Alabama, really in the entire United States. There comes a time when you have to sit them down and tell them what the real world is like. I'm going to leave you with Medgar Evers. On the night he was unalived with that gunshot wound, it saddened me that one of his sons said when we heard the shot outside, we knew what it was. You see, young black children, black, male and female at the time, had an understanding at a very early age. By the time you got out of elementary school as a black kid in the South, you understood that you had to move on the side of the sidewalk for certain people, that you couldn't go into certain establishments or go through the back door, that you had to drink from certain water fountains. This is at the time of Jim Crow. We can the modern stuff we can get to, but this is at the time of Jim Crow. There was a consistent conversation with your children that because you have this skin, something can happen to you. Now we're finding out about black kids going off in mountains like those twin boys in Georgia. The one black kid who had a white Mormon girlfriend and ended up drowning. The one black kid who went to a lake somewhere in New England with his white friends, and then they lured him to the water and tried to drown him, and only another gentleman who they didn't know was there came running really fast and saved the kid. And the kid that was the mastermind behind that, you could tell he evil. He just got by with that and was found not guilty. This is what I'm telling you, right? By this child being unalived in a hit and run, and he's a black child because the optics matter. You need to be honest with your children about this lie that's been perpetuated called a post-racial society. Some people still aren't going to like you based on your racial features. And this is the result of it. But see, Mississippi has a really bad habit of still making young black men somehow disappear and surface several days later unalived, or unalived immediately, and there's a lot of cover-up. Not a shock that this jury had prior knowledge of the case. That equals they're somehow connected to the Rollinson family. Likely, I don't know, I'm just making a guess. I'm not saying that they are, okay? And knew that if they got on their jury, they were going to find him not guilty. Some things stay the same and some things change. The moral of this story is to keep an eye on your children, go back to the streetlight philosophy, and start sitting them down in elementary school once they get to 3rd to 5th grade and tell them this is why A, B, and C works this way. See, Jordan benefits from the one thing Medgar didn't, is that cameras are everywhere now. And that social media can easily keep his story alive. Because Medgar was shot in the 60s, and it was darn near the year 2000 before Byron De La Beckwith paid for what he did to Medgar. We know about Jordan, but I don't see much of any of our people talking about it. Now is not the time to rest on your laurels. If you are a parent of black children, children of any African heritage in the United States, given what's going on right now, you better start having those conversations, because once the real world teach them, it might be too late. All right. My condolences to Jordan's family. He didn't deserve this. Again, Jordan Hill, rest in peace. I hope you're resting in peace. Children should be able to play outside without being hit by a vehicle, regardless of their race. But he spat on their family, or spat at their family like they're less than human. Look at the optics. This is Mississippi. All right. Thank y'all so much for stopping by. Have a great day. If you can, have a great day with a story this terrible.